What's going on, everyone? It's Ben from YGO from Zero, back with another retro Yu-Gi-Oh video and back with another Chimeratech format video. I've been loving this format so far, which takes place in January of 2007 at the SJC Orlando event of that year and uses the ban list from September 2006 with the emergency ban of Cyber-Stein. Now, this video is going to be a bit different from my regular coverage. Every format, I like to sort of do a deck building video, just showing me building a deck, showing my thought process for why I'm building it the way I am. And, normally I build a deck from scratch. I'm like, okay, here's an archetype that I want to build. How would I go about doing that? But I figured in this video, I would do something a bit different, because I showed off this list here, which is sort of the Chimeratech OTK deck that won the original SJC Orlando event. And I showed off the list. I think it's like okay. It can win games. I mean, it's very clear to see why it won, because if you draw very well and you play the deck well, you can potentially just blow at your opponent out of nowhere by going for a big OTK combo, future fusioning all your machines away, using like Ancient Gear Can to potentially, shut off their traps, Ancient Gear Drill to potentially get the future fusion out. You overload fusion away everything, Dimension Fusion everything back, and you're in a really, really good position. You just win the game off that. But I do think this deck has some flaws in the modern era. It is a bit bricky. I don't really like the Ancient Gear Drill package, which I mentioned in the video that I did on this deck. I think that some of the other cards here are a bit iffy. They could potentially be cut for better machines. And so I do think that if you're trying to build a Machine OTK deck in this format, which a lot of people are trying to do because it's a very, very good deck in this format, you need to make some massive change to this. So I think in this video, I'm just going to go through and try and adjust the deck to my liking, build it a different way, and make a new sort of Machine OTK. It's not really new because other people have been building Machine OTK decks themselves, but I'm going to put my own spin on it, and we'll see what we come up with. And this should hopefully be a good sort of example of how to take a winning deck list and, adjust it to your own tastes. Which is a very important skill because net decking, I think, is important. It's just a good way, if you're unfamiliar with the format, to get your hands on a pretty decent deck right away. But net decking isn't perfect, and you'll want to make changes to whatever you net deck after a certain point in time. So hopefully this will help you do that. So start off with, I'm just going to cut the Ancient Gear Drill package. I think it's a bit bricky. As my games with the deck, sort of showed, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. So I'm going to get rid of that. And I don't really like the spell cancel, the blowbacks, the barrel. Maybe Jinzo's fine because it does shut off traps, and that's a way to potentially push your OTK forward. But the rest is just a bit bricky. I also think we don't really need Dimension Fusion. I get why it's here, but there are other decks that are trying to banish things from their graveyard, so you're potentially just giving them more monsters that I guess you can then Chimeratech OTK them away. But like, I don't know, I think it's a bit bricky. I think it's a bit to win more, honestly. Like, if you're bringing out your Chimeratech Dragon, you're probably trying to win the game anyways. So I don't really think you need that. Yeah, so I'm getting rid of the Dim Fuses as well. I don't really think... I don't know. I'll reserve judgment on things like Nightmare Steel Cage and stuff like that. These floodgates are pretty good once you bring out Chimeratech, because once you bring out Chimeratech, it pops everything on your side of the field, so you don't care if you lose like a Nightmare Steel Cage or a Gravity Bind. Now you got your guy out. So I think what I'm going to do is start, before I get cutting anything else here, which I will cut some of these guys. I don't really like them that much. But I think before anything else, I'm just going to look at what other machines we have. So what I'm going to do this is that on Dueling Book, you can sort by release date. You can do monster, and you can go to type, and we can just do machine here. You can add some other things like, I'm pretty sure I want it to be an effect monster. I don't think that normal monsters are going to fit in this deck, so I'm going to limit it to the effect machines there. And I could also restrict the level. I'm going to keep it like this. I'm not going to restrict the level yet. And also, of course, we've got the ban list date down here, 2006, September. So now we can search this and search through all these sorts of machine monsters that we got. So how many pages of these do we have? We have a fair amount of them. As a note, Card Trooper is not legal in this format. So that's good to keep in mind. Dueling Book is occasionally inaccurate with where it draws the line on the cards that are legal, given a certain ban list. But for Chimeratech format, the last legal machine is Yellow Gadget. And the gadgets are a way to potentially play this deck. You could potentially just play a gadget deck with some overload fusions and stuff, use these to thin out your deck a bit, and then you set up the OTK. That is a thing you can do. I don't think we're going to go the gadget route, though. So I'm not really going to consider these. I And again, you don't need Boot Up Soldier Dread Dynamo. You don't need these other ancient gears here, so I'm not going to consider them. Cyberdarks are another way you can potentially build the deck. I showed off a Cyberdark deck as well earlier this week. I'm not the biggest fan of putting these into the sort of typical machine OTK deck, so I'm not really going to consider them. Cyber Ogre, it's a tribute monster. I think the tribute monsters are kind of rough, unless they're like really good, like Jinzo. I'm not really going to consider them. Cyber Esper is interesting, especially when we got a floodgate up. It can give us a bit more information, know we have to play around, things like that. But I think it's a bit too, like, do nothing, right? And it's just, like, very, very passive. So I don't really like it the most. Satellite Cannon takes too many turns to actually be used. Submarine Roid is a decent card, but it's like, I don't know, it's sort of a slower card, I think. And chipping in for 800 doesn't really do much, so I'm not the biggest fan of this. Rescue Roid is no, just no. Muskeil is an alien card. The Decoy Roid, Ambulance Roid, those are pretty bad. Victory Viper is interesting. It doesn't really contribute to our deck, though, but it is a very, very interesting card for a different machine deck if you want. But I don't really think it really goes with us here for this machine OTK, so I'm not really going to do that. I mean, I guess it can destroy spell traps, but it's only face-up spell traps, so it doesn't really help us. Searchlight Man, it could be good to sort of set up for our OTK. We set this, and then we flip it up, and then they can't activate set cards. Or no, they can't set. Oh, it's just they can't set. Okay, that's actually really bad. This is just worse Cold Wave. So, nope, we're not using this. Cyber Phoenix, I think we should use. This is the first of the machines here that I think is a 3 of. It's really, really good. Prevents your thing from being targeted. There's also something nice where if you have it on field, when Future Fusion brings out Chimeratech, it actually will prevent the Chimeratech from dying because it will stop the Future Fusion from continuously targeting it and destroying it. So I think Cyber Phoenix is actually really, really good here. And it draws cards as well, so that's very, very nice. So I like Cyber Phoenix a lot. Kieran doesn't really do anything here. Proto Cyber Dragon, it's cute, but like it only becomes Cyber Dragon on field, so I don't really think it goes with our deck that much, so I'm not really going to include it. Machine King Prototype is, I mean, it's just weaker Cyber Dragon, really, so I don't really like it. Cyber Laser, Cyber Barrier takes too much setup. BES, all the BES cards are pretty bad. I'm not going to use them here. They're just really bad. Cannon I already took out. Ancient Gear we took out. Or we didn't take that out, but this card's just bad. Adhesive Explosive is neat at clearing your opponent's stuff, I guess. But, like, it's very passive again. And we're an OTK deck. We're not trying to be too passive here. Anything that we want to, like, sort of commit in defense, we want to also draw into deeper stuff. So, I don't really like Adhesive Explosive. W-Wing Catapult, it's not really what we're doing. Nano Breaker, no. BS Tetra, no. Rottweiler, the hero card. UFO Roid is a tribute monster that does too little. Steamroid is a potential beater. We could include Steamroid. Do we need a potential just beater there? It is also very weak to attacks, so I'm not sure how much I like it. It's a maybe. I'm going to put Steamroid in the maybe category. We'll tuck that away up here. If we need more machines at the end of the day, we can include it. Patroid, real bad. Mechanical Clown is a tribute monster, so we probably don't want to include it. Jetroid is not good. Gyroid can stall for a bit, but again, it's too passive, so I don't really like it. Driroid is something to include potentially. Decent stats and also can deal with defense position monsters, which is kind of nice. But, you know, again, that's sort of a maybe along with Steamroid, so that's a maybe. Dark Catapulter is... I don't think this card is good. Yeah, it takes way too long to actually use. No, this card's bad. Cyber Dragon, I'm going to replace the alt art here with the art that I enjoy. I like this art better. I get that people like the Dark Cyber Dragon art, but I'm a classic Cyber Dragon guy. Didn't really change much about the deck. It's just something I like. Crystal Core, no. Toon Cannon Soldier, we could have a Toon Table package here, but I don't think it does enough. And Gear Soldier, we already took out. Beast and Golem are really bad. They can't be special summoned, so nope. Marin could get in for some additional damage. It's not terrible, but like... that Marin's actually interesting. If you have it on field when Chimeratech comes down, it gets popped, and then you can deal 1,000 damage to your opponent. That's neat. I'm going to put a maybe on this. Perfect Machine King, no. 2 tributes. Heavy Mech Support, I don't think we really have a use for. Fusilier, maybe, but we're not going for a Dimension Fusion thing, so like it's kind of iffy. One of the nice things about Fusilier, though, is if we send it to Grave and we like have pre-matter call to bring it back, that's pretty good. That's also going to be a maybe. Dekoichi, I think we want to include just 3 of this. I think it is very good. Just because it draws us deeper into our deck, right? It is passive, but draws us deeper into the Future Fusions, the Overload Fusions, etc. So I do like the Dekoichi there. Yes, Core, no. A-Team Trap Disposal Unit. No, not that. Aimed the 2 tribute, so no. Sonic Jammer, I'm going to say no on that one. Needleburr is a 1 tribute that didn't really do enough, so no. This card is not good, so nope. Gear Golem, it's again too passive, so I don't like it. Blowback, we sort of are deciding later. Drillago is funny, but I would say no. Scalp Plane is interesting. I don't hate Scalp Plane because it gets banished off Overload and then it comes back. So maybe, that's a maybe, but it also leaves us a bit vulnerable if we banish and then it brings back, but it is kind of not a terrible card. I don't know, that's going to be another maybe. So, Boganian, I don't think so. I think it's too slow. Amphibious Buggeroth, no, that's an Umi card. Cypher Soldier, good side deck card maybe for Warriors, so good to consider in the side deck. I think I'm just going to, let's see, are there side deck cards we can take out? I don't think Pickaroo is that good because in Chain it doesn't really do much. They just chain to the Pickaroo, so you have to really know when they're ending their chain to actually use that, so I don't really think it's that good. I'm just going to put in triple Cypher Soldier here just as a machine option to deal with warrior decks. Reflect Bounder's a maybe, can deal some burn damage. Machine King tribute, so no. Cypher Raider is equip based, so no. Metal Zoa, no. Z Metal Tank, Wide, Dragon Head, and X Head Cannon are all no's, I think. Union Rider, I mean, Union cards are not really the best, so no. Spell Canceller, I'm probably going to cut from the final product, but it's already in the deck, so something to consider. Roulette Barrel, I think, again, this is a bit too slow, so nope. Helping Robo for combat is not terrible, actually, because it does cycle into your deck. So I don't hate Helping Robo for combat. The question is, what is it getting over on your opponent's side of the field? And the answer is probably not much. So I'd say probably not, but this is a firm maybe. Dimension Jar is a nope. Time Eater, nope. This is a tribute monster that takes too much. Greatest option, we're not going for greatest stuff. UFO Turtle is something that I think actually is good in the deck. I have seen other people play this in the deck, and I like it a lot because it brings out Cyber Phoenix, it deck thins for you, and it gets machines engraved as well. So I like UFO Turtle. And also, if you're playing UFO Turtle, it does sort of facilitate more of the tribute monsters a bit better. So I do like UFO Turtle in the deck. And Patrol Robo is a no. Steel Scorpion, way too slow. Jinzo number 7, just bad. Cannon Soldier maybe gets some additional burn, but I don't think that additional burn will actually matter in this format here. And then Blast Juggler is a no. So, okay, so we've got an okay setup of machines. I think now we can start cutting some things out of the machine lineup. Spell Canceller is like anti-synergistic with our deck, I think. I get why it was here in the Dimension Fusion version, because you Dimension Fusion away and bring it back. But I don't think it's really good in our version. So I'm going to get rid of that. I think Barrel Dragon is a bit cope. I get why it's here. We can go into Gatling off of Overload, which is very cute. But it's just too much of a brick. So I don't really like it. So I'm going to get rid of it. Blowback is a maybe. I don't know. It's just, again, like our treat monsters are more facilitated with the UFO Turtles. But I do feel like there's more of a brick than not. So I'm just going to get rid of it. I mean, it's tough. Blowback, because with Blowback, I'll put in 1 Blowback. I don't hate 1 Blowback. Where was Blowback? There's Blowback. I'll put in 1. I don't hate it here because, again, we are playing the Turtles, so I can see why it's here. Joroid, again, it's a maybe, but I'm going to cut it for now because it's not a definite, and I think we can add the maybes back in once we've sort of gone through our deck a bit more. For the stall cards, I actually think with the things like UFO Turtle and Cyber Phoenix and stuff, I actually think the stall cards are not really that effective for us because we kind of want our opponent to attack into our UFO Turtles and things. So I'm going to start getting rid of the Nightmare Steel Cages. I don't necessarily hate Gravity Bind because that's a reactive stall card as opposed to Nightmare Steel Cage, which you have to preemptively activate. So I don't hate it. Swords is, I don't think Swords is really the best here. Because, again, it's like Nightmare Steel Cage where you have to activate preemptively. I mean, you can still attack under Swords. That's something. I don't know. I'm just going to get rid of Swords. I don't like it the most. Scapegoat is anti-synergistic with the UFO Turtle, so I'm going to get rid of that. I get why it's here, but I don't really think it's the best here. Now to maybe. I like the True Nades just to sort of set up your play, so I like that. I like the heavy. Card D also makes some sense here. So, yeah, if we're playing Card D, we could also play Night Assailant. That's something to consider. But it's a question of, like, is that too little of a payoff there? I mean, we're playing Triple Decoichi, so we get those back. But anyways, moving away from the machines, I think now that we've gotten somewhat more of a decent core of machines in our deck, let's look at the limited cards of the format, just to sort of see what else we might want to include here that we have not included already. I think Call and I also think Premat are really good because you dump things to grave with Future Fusion and then can bring them back with these two. So I like that a lot. Yeah, those are really good. Knock does seem good to me. I like Knock. I'm going to put Knock in. Maybe that's a mistake, but I like Knock. It's just allows you to get more aggressive. And also, one thing about the Chimeratech OTK is that, like, if your opponent just has a defense position monster, it doesn't actually OTK them. So I do like Knock just in here as an option. Limit removal, I think, is really good since we're playing, like, a ton of machines. And also, it does contribute to OTKs, so I like that. Let's see, what else? Cylinder, I don't really think is that good. It's fine, but it's, like, doesn't really help us here. Let's see. Book. I don't hate Book. Book is a bit awkward with Chimeratech because if we do use protect Chimeratech, then this thing goes back to 0/0. But I don't hate Book as just a flexible option here. So I like Book. Oh, why are we not playing Ring? Put Ring in there. Yeah, Ring is really good. So yeah, we're playing Ring for sure. Reaper is a decent card. I don't hate it. I think Breaker is really good, so we're just going to include that. Warrior Lady is also a really good card, so I like that as well. Let's see here. I don't think we include Night Assailant. I don't think it's good enough there. Pot actively conflicts with what our deck's trying to do because we want to set up machines in grave. Yes, we can get a lot of machines in grave through other means, but I feel like Pot's just anti-synergistic, so I'm not going to include the Pot. And yeah, okay, so we've gone through. I think Magical Mallet, I get why it's here, but if we're moving away from like the pure, we are trying to OTK hard, but like I just feel like Mallet is just a bit too much of a gimmick, so no Mallet there. We want triple overload because we want to see this as much as possible. It can be a brick, but I think it is worth it. If we're playing things that can be bricks, we could also play like discard traps like Raigeki Break. I don't hate that. I really don't hate Raigeki Break. Yeah, let's add in some Raigeki Breaks. I don't hate it. Maybe not 3, but like, but I'll put them in here as an option, right? I don't hate Raigeki Breaks. You can also convert the Blowback Dragon. Do I add back in the Barrel Dragon because now we're playing discard fodder? Ooh. Overloading into Gatling is so funny. I gotta do it. I gotta do it. For the content. For the content, at least. Generally, don't build decks for the content. But if you're a YouTuber, you know, like I am, build decks for the content, as well as trying to make them as good as possible. But, you know, I think one Barrel Dragon shouldn't be that bad. Again, we can Future Fusion it to the grave. Having another thing for Overload is nice, so I don't hate the Barrel Dragon, especially if we're going for more discard fodder here. And we could have the Night Assailant. We could have the Night Assailant as another piece of discard fodder. We could do it. I'm really debating that Night Assailant there. I'm really debating it. It's just so funny if we do it. It also isn't a terrible card like on its own if we just set it to pop something. I don't hate that. Tricky stuff here. Oh, we're not playing MST. Why aren't we playing MST? We're putting in a Typhoon as our last thing, I think. Yeah, I didn't even realize we weren't playing MST. Oh, Ring was in the side. Well, we're cutting Ring from the side. I didn't recognize it because of the alt art. Ring is too good not to main, in my opinion. And yeah, I think this is a pretty good main deck, all things considered. You know, it is a bit bricky with the, you know, Barrel Dragon and stuff, but since we're playing the discard traps, I'm fine with that. Yeah, I'm feeling good about this. We are a bit more trap heavy, so Decree cooks us a little bit more. But we got heavy, we got Trunade, we got things to deal with that. Yeah, I like this deck. I like this build of it. Moth is maybe a bit iffy, but I feel like Moth is very powerful, so I don't hate playing the Moth here. It's just a bit too slow for us. But like the way I think about it is like we're playing Dekoichis, which draws cards and, you know, gets deeper to our machine count. If we play a Graceful over the course of the game and then we set Moth, get it back, that's basically doing what Dekoichi did, but better. Sure, it takes a turn. Oh, we're not playing Comfy. Why aren't we playing Comfy? I feel like Comfy is really good. You could also put in like triple Dust Shoot somewhere as well. But I feel like Dust Shoot, I mean, Dust Shoot's really good. But like, yeah, we could do Dust Shoot as well in the main. I mean, Dust Shoot's really good. Is it main deck worthy, though? Like, what decks are we afraid of? Are we afraid of, like, Monarchs? Are we afraid of things like that? I don't think we're necessarily afraid of Monarchs. I don't think we're necessarily afraid of Gadgets. Those are two decks that Dust Shoot's very good against. Are we afraid of Warriors? Dust Shoot doesn't hit Warriors. But, like, I feel like Raigeki Breaks and stuff are better against Warriors. So, yeah, I don't know. Dust Shoot's definitely a side deck card at the very least. I'm going to take out Barrel Behind the Door. And Eprov is just not the best here, I think. I could add back in Barrel Behind the Door at some point. But, like, I don't know. Barrel's a bit iffy, in my opinion. It does make sense against Chain Strike decks because, like, you barrel them and then they, can't continue their chain. So that's kind of nice. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of Barrel. Anyway, I'm gonna put Dust Shoots into rotation here just because it is a question. It is a question to ask here. Is it good to play in the main in this deck? I feel like Comfy is definitely important to main. Ah, this is tough. Do we take out the Moth? Kind of tempted to take out the Moth. Not gonna lie. Yeah. It's rough. Moth is really good. Maybe we take out Card Destruction. Because Card Destruction is more of a minus. But I don't hate Card Destruction for, like, what it does for the deck. Can also benefit our opponent, though, which is a bit iffy. I think since we're playing just a generally, like, better deck, like one that isn't going, like, all in on the OTK, I'm going to take out Card D. It can be, like, fine. But the thing is, with Card D, it also sets up your opponent's plays. Like, there are a lot of decks like Dragon OTK and other Machine OTK decks that are fine with a Dust Shoot going off, and it's a -1 for you. So, yeah, I'm gonna take out Card D. I think it's fine. And now, can I fit in triple Dust Shoot here? Is the question. I think for this deck in particular, I'm going to keep the Dust Shoots in the side. I don't know. Maybe that's maybe that's not good. But every other card in the deck here, I feel good about. I feel good about including. And Dust Shoot, well, if Dust Shoot's a brick later, we can pitch it with Break as well, which is like another reason to potentially play Dust Shoot in the main in this deck since it is playing the breaks. Oh, I'm talking myself into playing Dust Shoot more now. I think, honestly, we can probably cut the Gravity Bind from the main. Because if it is up, sure, it's defensive, but, like, also it can cause problems for us. So let's cut the bind. Limiter is just so good. I don't really want to cut the limiter. I see the argument for cutting limiter, though, because, like, we're OTKing through other means. We want to keep around, like, UFO Turtle and Dekoichi and Cyber Phoenix. So you don't necessarily want to pop them with limiter's effect. It's tough. I'm gonna put the limiter away. I'm gonna take it out. It might be a bit too win more. Yeah. Taking out limiter. What if we take out the Faith? I'm thinking about taking out the Faith. Yeah. What else is here that we can take out? What else is good to get rid of? Oh, and it's tough. The real answer is probably the blowback in the barrel. But again, I got to do the content there. I'm taking out the Moth. Taking out the Moth. And now let's look at our side deck. I'm going to take out these Wabokus. I think 3 Roar is generally good enough for against an OTK deck if you're facing that. For the Warrior matchup, we get Cypher Soldier. That's pretty good. I think Wanghu is really good just against, like, the Gadget matchup. So I'm just going to put in some Wanghus here. We don't need Bind. I can't think of a deck where we'd bring that in. I don't think we'd bring in Card D either. Limiter we probably wouldn't bring in as well. Wombat we probably want to play another Wombat because it's good against Chain Strike. So, or Chain Burn, that is. So I don't need another Wombat here. What else are we doing? More back row heavy decks. Maybe we want, like, Dust Tornado in here as well. I'm going to take out the limiter and the Moth and just put in some Dust Tornadoes. Just because I feel like, in, like, Macro Monarch decks or something like that, they probably have a bit more value there. Yeah. Okay, I'm feeling okay about that side deck as a start. And now for the fusion deck, let's put in some more fusion monsters. So honestly, the fusion deck is generally the easiest to fill out because you just do the same thing that we did with machines, but you do monster fusion, and then we fill in what's missing here. So I think we want to add in a third twin, a third end, some Gatlings. Let's see, where's Gatling? There's Gatling. Third Gatling. What are we missing here? We need 3 more. Are there any other things that we can actually go into in this deck? I don't think so. So the last 3 cards could really be anything. Yeah, Metamorphosis is not playing in this deck. I mean, I don't think it's worth it. So yeah, I think it's fine having these. And then you could, I mean, you can put in whatever you want, honestly. I don't know. Steam Gyroid for the funniness factor, I guess. But yeah, realistically, I don't think there's anything else that you'd be putting in. No, we're not playing UFO Roid. And also, we don't have a way to fuse this. It's Future Fusion, but like, yeah. Okay, well, that's going to do it for the deck list. I think this is pretty good. I'm feeling pretty good about this. Seems pretty solid to me. Of course, we will have to take it in some games, see how it actually performs. And that'll be what I do in my next video here. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe to the channel if you want to be notified when that comes out. We are either at 1,600 subscribers when you're watching, or we're very, very, very close. Last time I checked, we're 1 away. So definitely subscribe. Help us reach that goal. If we are not at 1,600 yet, join the YGO from Zero Discord server if you want to play games in Chimeratech format or any other format that I featured on the channel. We got a locals coming up this Friday, and also we've got a monthly tournament in this format starting on Saturday. So definitely head on over there and sign up for that if you're interested in that. Let me know what you think about this deck down in the comments below, what you would change, whether you think that this deck is sort of the final form of the deck, or if you think there's more to be done. I personally think there's a lot more to be done. Testing needs to be done for this deck. We need to see what works, what doesn't, and things like that. Also, big shout outs to my patrons, Rinswin, Pork Chop, Brendan Donker, GMYFest, Tyler Compton, and Dump Truck. It means a lot that you all support me in this way. I encourage you to make more videos like this in the future. If you want to join the Patreon, links in the description down below, and you can get shout out in videos and get other perks as well. But that's going to do it for the video. I hope that you enjoyed as always. Until next time, I've been Ben from YGO from Zero, and I'm signing off.